Oh, okay. It seems like that would only help you to minimize my accomplishments.
Well, exactly. Yeah, it'll help me to be a little bit more abusive about it. So.
Okay. Yeah, that's good. That's healthy.
I'm not in the mood right now. So the whiskey's in me though.
Mm-hmm.
Shit all
right.
over you.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Wednesday Night Gentlemen Multimedia Empire official podcast. You are listening to episode number 35. On this show, we like to talk about comic books, movies, TV shows, video games, and everyone's favorite, politics. I am your host, Tactic Angel, and with me is Midget Radio, my murderous socialist friend.
Hello.
Midget Radio, how are you doing?
Doing well, Tactic Angel. How are you?
I'm doing pretty okay. Pretty good.
That's great. That's great to hear.
A little tired. Been a busy week.
Yeah.
But, I got some booze to pep me up.
That's nice. That's good. Making you feel better.
Mm-hmm. We're keeping the tradition alive this week, or at least I am, with Sensei, Japanese imported whiskey of some sort.
Sensei. All right. How do you like that?
I'd say that it's smooth, like most Japanese whiskeys. It doesn't taste quite as scotchy. It reminds me a little bit more of Canadian whiskey, probably. But it's got some nice, honey oak and several other things. It's easy to drink, like all Japanese whiskey. Well,
I think we've established that you know better than I do what whiskeys I've had and have not had. Have I had Sensei?
Not unless you have been randomly ordering things at bars.
Okay, then I'm confident in no, I have not.
What do you have today, sir?
I'm back to the Akashi, actually. I liked the Akashi quite a bit, and I'm back on it today. So we're 100% Japanese in our liquor.
We are,
this episode.
We are culturally appropriating the shit out of this episode.
Fuck yeah, fuck the Japanese.
They're great, as we mentioned last time.
They are.
They're great. And what better time to be talking about Japanese whiskey than when we're going to be talking about Blade Runner?
Yeah.
And Blade Runner 2049.
Yes.
Obviously, Blade Runner. So picture back. The year is 1982, and Ridley Scott helps bring to the big screen Philip K. Dick's cyberpunk thriller, Do Androids Dream of Electronic Sheep. The movie stars Harrison Ford as Deckard, a Blade Runner, which is apparently a person who hunts down replicants, which are parenthetically fake humans.
Yeah.
It is a far distant future year of 2019. Forced out of retirement to hunt down 6 androids, which later strangely turns into 4. Whatever.
Yeah.
These replicants have escaped and are believed to have returned to Earth in search of a cure for their extremely short mortality, among other things. Midget Radio, we have both seen Blade Runner at some point in our life.
Yes.
Obviously, people, this came out, 30?
Yeah.
5 years ago.
It's like as old as I am. It's like as old as we both are, practically. I
am old.
You are. Well, you are the oldest living person.
Ever.
Yeah.
I think. Midget Radio, what are your long-term impressions, memories, love affairs with Blade Runner?
I think I think we're actually generally kind of in line on this movie. I remember like the first time I saw it, I mean the visuals just blew me away, and they continue to do so even today.
It holds up nicely.
It really does. It really does. It's an unbelievably gorgeous movie. And one of the, I don't know, just I guess one of the best renditions of a kind of like dense cyberpunk city life that I've ever seen in a movie. So on that side, it's amazing. It's amazing. It's awe-inspiring. The rest of the movie though, I'm not really that high on it as far as the story and the script and I don't know what to attribute that to. But honestly, my overall feelings toward Blade Runner are that it is unnecessarily long and ponderous and kind of maybe a bit pretentious. That's where I land on that movie. That said, though, I like Harrison Ford. Who doesn't like Harrison Ford? But
he's doing a job to make sure that nobody does. But Crystal Skull and Star Wars 7 aside,
true.
Largely, I think that like the people who like Blade Runner really like Blade Runner.
Yes, they do.
And I'm in the solid. It's fine category.
Yeah.
There are some things that I like about it, like naturally the sort of detective noir aspect of it.
Yeah.
I kind of appreciate at times the plotting nature, but at other times, if you were to sit down and you were to really look at it, you're like, the story's a little bit of a mess.
Yep.
You do kind of switch focus in the middle of the film from Harrison Ford onto Rutger Hauer.
Yeah.
And Rutger Hauer is so much better.
Yeah.
I like him. I really do think that Rutger Hauer gives a pretty good performance here. Probably one of the best of his careers. I think he's actually a pretty consistently okay actor who I guess Hollywood really wanted to take off at some point, but like he never really had the leading man.
Yeah. He was always kind of a villain or just a badass, really. But
yeah. But like as a supporting actor or as a guy voicing over a No Man's Sky trailer, he does a great job.
Yeah. Absolutely.
If I were to look back on it, it's like I watched it again this week. Watching this movie is a pain in the ass now because there's like 5 or 10 different versions of it.
And that doesn't help. Yeah, that really doesn't help.
It doesn't. I watched the final cut and I was like, I'm pretty sure that's not based off of the director's cut, but it is.
Yeah.
And you're just like, shit.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever. At least it doesn't have the voiceovers, and if you can forgive the stupid Ridley Scott trying to rewrite the script afterwards.
Yeah.
Then you can get through it. It's fine. And really I do like the visuals, and I actually do like the conclusion of the entire movie. I think it ends on its strongest note.
Okay.
Which is to say that it kind of muddles about and pianissimo and ends on a mezzo forte, sort of.
Wow. I don't know if that's as pretentious or more pretentious than the movie Blade Runner, but
it's probably less pretentious.
We'll explain, because it's been a while since I've seen the first. I've probably seen it 2 or 3 times, but it's been a long time since the last time I saw it. So explain the ending to me. Explain what you mean by it ending on a strong note.
So naturally, the replicants in the movie have a 4-year lifespan.
Right.
And as it turns out, the climax of the movie comes exactly in the 11th hour or in the twilight of their existence, when the sun is setting and they're racing against the clock to kill one another or whatever. And it's not really an action scene, but there are guns, right?
Yeah.
Like the entire time you have Rutger Hauer He plays Roy. He's just fucking with Deckard,
Yeah.
which is Harrison Ford's character. And the weird thing is, like, they kill Pris, and you'd think he'd really want the vengeance, and he does want vengeance, but you know, like, he's starting to shut down during the final encounter, and then right when Harrison Ford is lost, he starts falling down, and Roy catches him.
Yeah, they're on like they're on the roof, right? Of that, like, they're on some roof somewhere.
Yeah, they're on a roof of some building, and he lifts him up and he tosses him over the side, and he's basically like, you know, like, this is the end of me. And then he has that great like tear, like, everything about him is going to be wiped clean like tears in the rain.
Yeah,
like, it'll just, and you're just like, it's a nice scene, and it's interesting to watch because it's like, well, Roy has had no problem killing people up to this point, but like, there's it makes you think, you know, why did Roy save Deckard?
Yeah.
Was it because he could say, you know, I, like a god, could do with you what I would, whatever I willed, and I chose to spare you.
Right.
And in that I have shown a magnanimity that you couldn't show to me. Or is he looking like he saves Deckard? He gives this, you know, monologue that's pretty good. I mean, it's probably the best, most memorable part of the movie.
Yeah.
And maybe he's just trying to say, you know, I'm going to get washed away, but now, since I've spared you, you now have this memory of me as well. Like, and he can live on in the memory of Deckard for now.
Mm-hmm.
And so that kind of perpetuates his existence a little bit.
Okay.
Which is kind of what he was trying to do the whole thing. It's interesting to just see as a character study.
Yeah.
How that last scene plays out, and it's probably without all the, you know, special effects and the, like, miniatures and compositing. It's actually just a straight up, it's raining outside and two people are fighting in basically abandoned building. It's solid.
Yeah,
I like it.
Yeah. Okay.
Is that sufficient, Midget Radio?
It is. Yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah, because I don't really remember the ending as much, except for, I mean, I do remember that scene. I don't remember the dialogue as well, though. But you know, it's not a bad scene. I don't know, these Blade Runner, I guess the first movie in particular. It's a long time to get there. It's a long time to try to get there with, honestly, I gotta say, and you know, this is always, I feel like we come back to this over and over again on pretty much everything we review, but it's always the characters. And Deckard's not a very interesting character.
Deckard's a cardboard box.
Yeah, exactly.
Between scenes.
Exactly. So there's not a whole lot to really latch onto there. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. I mean, that scene by itself, it's great. Capping off a 2.5 hour movie. I don't know that it's worth it getting there, despite the fact that the movie is gorgeous, but you know. Yeah.
And God bless Ridley Scott. He is sometimes a good movie maker.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
But other times he just makes pretty movies that are just, why?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow, Prometheus. What a brilliant.
That was a pretty movie. There was a lot of the set design that I really enjoyed in that movie.
Yes. You can always say there's a lot of set design that I really appreciate in a Ridley Scott. You know, the costumes are pretty solid.
Yeah. Oh, God. The first Alien movie, in the interior of the alien ship. Holy shit.
The camera work.
Oh, God.
Spot on.
Yeah.
The people. Yeah.
Yeah.
We all have our shortcomings.
Yeah, we do. That's true.
Let's jump into the time capsule though and jump forward.
Okay.
30 years. So 30 years after the original, the world's ecosystem has collapsed. Apparently, very few humans live on planet Earth, and our main protagonist is actually a replicant himself. Unlike other replicants that we've seen before, the new replicants obey.
Yes, that was the chief design flaw.
Yeah. Yes. Apparently too much rationale and whatever.
Yeah.
They didn't just break down like good old 50s style robots used to. So the majority of our plot follows K, which is short for a bunch of numbers and letters, point and some more numbers.
Mm-hmm.
He's a Blade Runner tracking down other replicants. So he's kind of a traitor to his own race, I guess.
I guess so, yeah.
He's portrayed kind of by Ryan Gosling, actors from the original, including our favorite Edward motherfucking James Olmos.
Yeah.
And Harrison Ford returned to reprise their roles. Midget Radio, is this movie a better movie in your opinion, or is it more pretentious?
I feel,
or is it both? I guess it could be both.
I don't know. I feel like I'll keep it simple, I guess. If you enjoy the first Blade Runner movie, I don't see why you wouldn't enjoy this movie as well. Where I land on it, it's gorgeous, it's gorgeous, but then at the same time, I am not sure that exceptionally well done cinematography, and a kind of ponderous shoegaze synth soundtrack make for a brilliant film. That's where I'm at on this one.
Okay. Did you feel like I didn't actually feel like the visuals were all that breathtaking. Now, in part, that might be just because we as audience goers have kind of come to expect that everything does look pretty.
Yeah, maybe
now,
yeah.
It doesn't explain DC movies at all.
No.
But, like, for me, it just seemed like everything was kind of dark and hazy. Or if it was light, it was snowing. So it was weird.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess so. I think like just some of the contrast that some of that created was, I guess maybe as a package, what made it a little bit more interesting. 'Cause it's basically always night and lit with a kind of soft neon in the city all the time. And then out in the desert, it's heavily, heavily saturated. And then the snow against the kind of sort of grayish morning of the city was sort of an interesting, I don't know, maybe just kind of the bouquet of of tone, as far as the color palette, I guess, was just sort of interesting as a whole. And I do enjoy the gigantic holographic advertisements and all of that crap that we saw some of in the first Blade Runner movie, but I like that they're like the Russian ballerinas or whatever dancing in the street, just gigantic. Yeah. Like that kind of stuff was just really great.
One of them's a giant naked lady, which didn't hurt.
Not at all. So yeah, I mean, a lot, again, like the first movie, I mean, I'd say, pretty fantastic visuals. I guess in some sense, the first Blade Runner movie is sort of more impressive because of the lack of technology as compared to today. It's still kind of amazing how well that movie holds up.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I wouldn't say that this movie looks significantly better than that movie.
No. Oh yeah. I wouldn't say that either. Yeah. I wouldn't say that either.
You'd have expected that this occurred, like, in terms of our technology, 5 or 10 years after the first one.
Yeah.
Not 35.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, other than that, again, I mean, and I feel like for a lot of the reactions that I've been seeing to this film, that's what people are talking about. And like, that's why it's so good. Oh my God, it's gorgeous.
I don't know. I think it kind of goes back to the thing that we were talking about at the end of last week's episode. Are we reaching a point with comic book movies that there's a saturation, and I said basically no.
Yeah.
It's not saturation. It's just that we have an abundance of choice, and we don't have to watch shitty comic book movies.
Yeah.
There isn't an abundance of choice for cyberpunk movies.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you almost kind of have to like it if you're into cyberpunk.
Somebody should have told the people that when Ghost in the Shell came out, but because that movie is apparently not good compared to this movie.
I can tell you which one I would rather watch again.
And I think we'd agree on that choice. So
okay. So I'll get my opinion out of the way.
Okay.
As a single sentence statement, I find this movie is incredibly tedious, and it makes as its foundation the weakest part of the original Blade Runner to be its most important part, which is really frustrating.
Okay.
It's really frustrating.
Do you want to elaborate that on now or in spoilers? Because I'm curious what you mean.
I think the part that I'm talking about that I think is Blade Runner's weakness should probably come in the spoilers. I can say a number of things that I liked generally about this movie.
Okay.
And several things that I dislike very generally about this movie. I think that they handled the gender issue pretty well. And maybe it's just that I'm used to being hit over the head with sort of stupid girl power nonsense. But like in the 70s and 80s, people used to be able to write a strong female character without being like, yeah, guys, we can do it too. Yeah. And it's just like that's obnoxious. Like there are several good characters who are women in this movie. They're probably more interesting than Ryan Gosling's character, honestly.
It's hard not to be more interesting. but yeah, I would agree.
They don't beat you over the head, and in fact, the movie is really quite willing to visit plenty of violence upon these women, just like the male characters.
Yeah.
Which is, I guess, kind of empowering, even if you're seeing women beating is a main plot point.
I guess so. I have no idea. I think it's in some ways a sad and depressing sign of the culture that we live in, that we even like, because I didn't think about that fucking at all while watching this movie. I didn't think about any of that.
When I say it rings true, doesn't it?
For like, yeah, I mean, yeah, it feels like, I guess nowadays it feels like almost everything that's put out has to be understood in terms of either race or gender. And that's it. And that's like, that's all there is. Like, and I don't want to get too far off the mark here, but it's like, if you look at some of the Star Trek Discovery reviews and they're like, well, we can't believe that they're doing this to the Klingons because they're painting them as savages, and isn't that like sort of racist because of like how they're dressed? And it's like, Jesus Christ, I don't even like, that's so far off the mark of the what some of the issues are with that particular show. And it's just like, I watch stuff like that, and it doesn't even cross my mind to think of it like that. That just strikes me as such a leap in an interpretation, that to come down on that conclusion, I just feel like you've jumped you've just scaled a lot of hurdles without really addressing any issues along the way. So I don't know.
How about that none of the characters are in it?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's just, so I don't know. I don't care. I enjoyed Robin Wright well enough, but again, I mean, there's not, I can't say that there's any character in this movie that particularly that's particularly compelling in their own right.
I don't think any one of them are particularly strong. I just mean that like they are written as strong women without being
I wouldn't disagree with that.
Without being Agent Carter.
Without explaining to you that she is in fact strong. Like, oh, thank you.
We can do it too.
God, it's like Claudia Christian in like Babylon 5, the first season of Babylon 5. Well, as a Russian, because I'm Russian, I think this. Because of where I was in Russia this one time, I think this about that particular thing. It's just.
But Claudia Christian is a fucking great addition to
she's
that show.
awesome. But my God, I get it. She's Russian. Thank you. Please stop explaining to me.
Off of the politics, but still on the things that I kind of like about it. I do enjoy the faithful look they tried to put in this, and to a degree the plot elements too. I really think that watching the original Blade Runner is almost necessary to understand some of the things that are going on in this movie.
Yeah.
But that kind of leads me immediately into the things that I don't like about this. Because once again, I think you'd actually like this movie more. Like, you'd have a better chance of liking this movie more if you hadn't seen the original Blade Runner, minus the fact that you wouldn't understand it.
Okay. That's possible.
When it comes to, like, you'd mentioned the soundtrack, we've got a heavy synth score.
Yeah.
I was like, oh yeah, that's neat. They're trying to do the Vangelis music, but then, like, at a certain point, I thought this exactly. I thought, man, this sounds like somebody tried to do the Vangelis score and the Interstellar score, and then afterwards I looked it up and it's like, oh, lo and behold, it's Hans Zimmer.
Of course, yeah.
Oh, the guy who did Interstellar. Wow, that's.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I actually did like the Interstellar soundtrack. Not much else about the movie.
Yeah.
But, like, I'm big into organ music, which is a fucking character fluke. And don't judge me, listener. But, like, I think this will go down as one of Hans' least memorable soundtracks, just like Vangelis and his Blade Runner soundtrack.
Yeah.
People aren't like, man, do you remember Vangelis's Blade Runner soundtrack? It's like, no.
Yeah.
Sure, it's fire. Yeah.
Yeah.
All sorts of things.
Yeah. Well, there's little, if any, I would say, distinct melody, maybe.
it's just noise.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's loud, and it's in the theater I was in, it was usually like so loud that you could almost not tell what was going on.
Yeah.
Was it the same for you?
It was. Yeah, it was. I almost feel like, I don't mean to be a dick, but maybe it's that way to wake the fucking audience up. Make sure they're still watching the movie. So,
I did get a little tired around the 2-hour mark.
I was a little surprised at the length, but yeah.
More general things, and we can get more into this in the spoilers, but I feel like this movie teeters on the edge of trying to be some sort of suspense film, and then occasionally just being like, let's be a dumb action film in places.
Yeah. There's some, I don't think I'd push back on that too much, because there are some slightly stupid things in this. Just stupid action movie stuff in this. Yeah.
And then, I mean, particularly there's a scene that's about, I want to say, 3/4 of the way through the movie that just makes me think, wow, this is fucking sequel bait. And it's so painfully apparent that it was a real big turnoff for me. And it was a bad scene. It was just a bad scene.
Okay. Yeah, we'll have to talk about that.
All right. Let's just get the numbers out of the way.
All right.
1 to 5, old school Netflix scale. Where are we, Midget Radio?
This is hard. I'm actually struggling between like 2 and 2.5. And I think maybe I'll just probably give it a 2.5. But I'm gonna say that's just generous on like the off chance that maybe on subsequent movie viewing, I will actually like this movie better.
Nope, this movie's a 2.
Yeah.
It might even be a 1.5, but it's definitely not a nihilistic 2.5.
Yeah.
Well, Jared Leto's in it.
Yeah. I don't really have a problem with Jared Leto, and actually, like, well, okay, so I'm at 2.5, you're at 2, and now spoiler tag.
Boom.
Okay. Cool. So yeah, Jared Leto was actually surprisingly not in this movie very much. And I was like moderately disappointed by that, just because I was sort of interested in his character a little bit. Like, okay, so what's weird about it, and what I think is almost worthy of some exploration, his relationship. So he's the guy who's building all the new replicants, basically. He's like the Walt Disney of fucking replicants. He owns all the goddamn replicants. And so he wants to figure out like how to give them the capability to reproduce, right? To like give birth on their own so that they can go out, like colonize worlds and do all this other shit. You're like, cool. And but the whole time, like the rest of the movie, like Dave Bautista and Harrison Ford, like they're trying to hide the fact that there was this like replicant baby born that I guess grew up and became an adult and all that shit, because if that happened, that's bad, and they would be like the subject of study and dissection and all that kind of stuff. But at the same time, their ability to give birth is like a symbol practically of their freedom in this movie. So it's interesting that both of them, like the replicants and Jared Leto, kind of have the same vision a little bit for the future of replicants, which is that ability to give birth. I don't know. It just seemed a little weird because I think they're supposed to be on opposite sides of the fence.
maybe it's just back to Ghost in the Shell. Corporation's bad.
Yeah. I mean, he was like just absurdly almost cartoonish in his portrayal, and I don't know, it didn't make a lot of sense. So yeah, he definitely seems villainous, and his girl, whatever her name was, his enforcer replicant chick that he used, I mean, she was a horrible person, or robot, I guess. So I mean, she's not helping him look like a reasonable person, at least. But
yeah. And I thought about this, particularly while we're on the subject of Jared Leto's character. When you're at the end of the movie and it's Harrison Ford and Jared Leto, and they have like what feels like a 6-hour scene between each other. Yeah. That you're saying, yeah, right now probably answers the question. But I was like, I hate this, but is Midget Radio going to hate it? Because he's pretty into the end of the original Hulk.
That's true. I do love that. This wasn't nearly the stage production that was, but I guess maybe it was a little bit close. And I think part of the difference is that Nick Nolte is somebody who is full of passion, particularly in that scene. And
he has a character.
This is practically, I mean, so much of this movie is almost devoid of any emotion or any feeling or anything that, kind of feels like a human being in it. So it's, yeah, I wasn't like, I didn't hate that scene, but I wasn't like, I wasn't into it. I mean, I wasn't engaged. There's most of this movie I really wasn't all that engaged in, except for, so I do want to say this, and this is something that I liked. The first scene of the movie, when Ryan Gosling goes and visits Dave Bautista.
Sapper Morton.
Yeah. So I don't know about you, but I think after seeing this scene, I am ready for an Old Man Bautista movie. I think he needs to be in his own movie. I think he needs to be an old motherfucker, and I think he needs to beat some ass and just be awesome.
Here's the thing. I completely agree with you. I actually think that Dave Bautista is a much better actor than people give him credit for.
Yeah. He was immediately sympathetic and immediately interested. Like from the first, just right away, I was immediately engaged with what was going on with him, and I didn't want to see him get taken in, and I liked that he fought for, his farm and his life, and all, like, just immediately engaging.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, I like most of the thing, like, in terms of my engagement in this movie, instantly, Batista, Ryan Gosling, like that scene.
Yeah.
I think they did actually a pretty good job in the opening.
Yeah.
And so, like, my interest was relatively high, and it just felt like somebody was rubbing sandpaper over it all the time, and then they beat it with a hammer at some point, and just broke it off completely. And I was just like, I really just want to leave. I know there's only like 30 minutes left of this movie, but man, I have just lost all interest in it whatsoever.
Yeah.
And kind of one of the things that bothered me while we're talking about Batista is I'm really disappointed that this movie at no point bothered to explain to us why it's bad that Dave Bautista is a farmer. Like, you'd have to watch the first one.
Yeah,
but if
that's
you watch
true.
If you watch the first one, you'd be like, well, he's just minding his own business. Let him fuck off. Who cares?
Yeah.
He's guarding a tree that he
Yeah.
really doesn't want to fall over.
Yeah.
It's like, who cares? If that's what his emotions have brought him to do, it doesn't make any sense. Because then they start talking about, like, well, the real emotions are, or the best emotions are the ones that we give you. We try to give you good emotions to motivate you so you can have whatever. And you're like, well, the problem with the first movie was you didn't want him to have emotions.
Yeah.
And it.
Yeah.
Ah!
Yeah.
And I don't
know.
understand. I don't understand how you understand that scene. Like, you have a fight scene, and it's Dave Bautista basically beating Ryan Gosling's head into a wall.
A lot.
Damn it if he didn't kill him.
Yeah.
Roll credits.
Yeah.
6-minute movie.
Yeah. Shit. God, this movie would have been so much better if it was just Dave Bautista running from Blade Runners. I would have been so into that.
So, like, he beats the shit out of Ryan Gosling, and he throws him through a wall, a solid wall.
Yeah.
That even with Dave Bautista cyber strength, he can't get through him in one hit. And, like, naturally you'd think immediately, that guy should be dead.
Yeah.
But, like, you need to know from the first movie that replicants are tough.
Yeah.
And then you can be like, oh, okay, he's a replicant, so it doesn't. And they never explain that to you. They just assume that you understand how it works.
Yeah.
And then that plays into the worst part of the movie, which is that you have to have watched the first movie in order to understand this. And the worst part of the first movie, I'm talking a lot. You can
go ahead.
Interrupt me.
Keep going.
Want. The worst part of the first movie is that Rachel and Deckard have no chemistry whatsoever.
So fucking boring. So fucking boring together. Yeah. And if there's nothing, like, I don't give a shit about that relationship. I don't give a fuck how he feels about her.
They have like 2 scenes together, maybe 3.
Yeah.
It's like, I interview you say the lesbian thing.
Yeah.
And then, like, you disappear for like 40 minutes. Then you shoot a random person in the head who's trying to beat me to death. And then you're out.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
You're out. And it.
Yeah. There's nothing there. Yeah. There's nothing there.
So the whole crux of this movie is built on the improbable circumstance that that we believe that Deckard and Rachel have some great life together.
Yeah.
And that this is the genesis of either a human replicant or a replicant baby.
Yeah.
Fucking yawn. Who cares?
Exactly. Yeah. It's all this in Battlestar Galactica, but yeah.
And you just look at it and you're just like,
yeah.
Damn it. You brought her back and shot her in the head. Fuck.
Yeah. Great. Yeah, I agree. None of that works. And it's as boring as hell. And I think it like, so Ryan Gosling, so for a long time, the movie is basically proceeding on the assumption that Ryan Gosling might be the son of Harrison Ford and Rachel.
For like
the whole movie.
an hour and a half.
Yeah. And then he's not. And it's the girl who makes replicant memories, right? She's actually the baby.
Yep.
Okay. So
under everybody's nose the whole time.
Yeah. So I hated that. I thought it was a stupid twist in the sense that like, oh, we have to figure out who the baby is. Well, what's the only other character we've seen in this dumb movie that we spent kind of a weird amount of time with? That girl. Wow, so she turned out to be the baby, and she implants, I guess, the memory that she had, which is a genuine memory about sticking the wooden horse in the furnace or whatever. And she views that memory and then tells Ryan Gosling that this is a legit memory and somebody experienced this. But she was the one who experienced that. And so then we just go from there. I don't know. I don't get it. I don't really get it.
I don't like it. I don't like it. And it's like at the end when you have like the single scene where Harrison Ford comes in, he puts his hand in the glass. You're like, I really want to get it, but I'm not there.
I don't get it. And so it's like, well, then I just started questioning it more because it's like, well, okay, so did she stick that memory in his head so that he would like be motivated to try to find her real dad or something? Is that what is going on? Was that the motive behind that? And if so, isn't that kind of like darkly like insanely, like sadistically, psychologically manipulative to convince this replicant that maybe he's a real boy or whatever, so you can send him out to find your fucking dad and he can bring him back to you? Like, that seems like kind of a terrible fucking thing to me. And then additionally, how did you know, like, the way that Ryan Gosling even comes upon all of this is by fucking chance. Like, he discovers that horse by just sheer chance, practically.
Well, I mean, like, it has to be that his little hover car shot down in that exact place. And it's like, oh, wow, how convenient.
Well, that he was assigned to go get Batista in the first place. Like, all of that, like, it's just really, really convenient. And then it's like, well, okay, if you explain that by saying that she put this memory into a bunch of different replicants, well, then maybe. But then it's like, well, do replicants all, like, do they all share the same? Are there models? Like, you're the janitor replicant, so you have a lot of positive memories about cleaning up shit, and they're all like the same fucking memory across this particular product line of replicants. Like, I don't understand how it works, and it's annoying, and I don't care. Like, and the only reason I'm thinking so much about this kind of stuff is because all of the characters are so completely fucking unengaging that this is all there is. I'm just trying to make sense out of the stupid plot about how the plot is moving forward, because I am so uninvested in these people and their emotions and their feelings and their lives, and I don't, it just feels like kind of an empty movie with a lot of stupid plot conveniences in it. But it's pretty.
Well, let me ask you this, because this is the scene that went from, like, the general downward trend to just fucking, okay, just roll the credits for me. he wakes up and he's in a chair, and the replicant woman comes out, and she's like, I am the replicant leader. I am going to start a revolution. And I was like, you mean like the Revenge of the Planet of the Apes or some nonsense like that? And you're like, I don't want to see that. I don't want to see that. This movie needs to bomb.
I didn't understand any of that. I didn't understand the timing of that. And like, it's the prostitute who leads. She's like in the revolution, and she leads them to Gosling because she's tracking him. I guess. Fine.
It's a good thing he always wears the same coat.
Yeah, that really worked out. God.
It made me think when I saw that, and it's like, does somebody keep putting a new wooden horse there?
Really, like every time, like how many replicants have been through this process?
There's like 50 of them. It's like, well, we all hoped that we were the one. Yep. And you're like,
too bad.
Wait, do you all have a little horse?
And then they find out that they're not the real one, and so they put the horse back. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like after that. But then he gives it to Harrison Ford, and then it's like, you don't need to do that. Yeah. And it's like, listen, buddy, all I want to do is lay down and die so they can play the credits.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I guess, it's hard for me. I don't understand really what people are seeing in this movie that is making them believe that it's something just kind of extraordinarily brilliant. It's just, I don't think there's a lot of meat on this film. There's not a lot to really engage with.
I don't think that's what's happening though, because I don't know anyone who's seen this movie.
Well, it's not doing very well box office wise, but the critical reviews have been really great. Basically everyone who I know,
of the critical reviews.
But everyone who's like even commenting on this movie, it just seems like the audience, like I haven't seen really any kind of negative reaction to this film, which is surprising, I guess. I don't know. Like maybe in the sense that it's like, it's not like an over the top, action blockbuster, whatever. Maybe people are like, oh wow, this movie's kind of slow. We haven't seen that in a while. So that's nice. I don't know. I don't get it.
That didn't bother me so much, but it is just a painfully dull movie. Yeah. And I think that if nobody else is willing to do it, I think the Wednesday Night Gentlemen should come out and say, this movie sucks.
Yeah, I'm not against that. I'm not against that. There are things I like, but it's overall not a good movie. I did like the virtual girl that he was dating. I actually enjoyed like all of that. I thought the sex scene was a little like, it was just long. Like, I get it. I get what's happening. I understand it. And we can cut now and fucking move forward. But, I liked her well enough. I liked her engagement with him. Actually kind of liked that relationship. So, that was cool in what was otherwise a fairly vacant movie, I'd say.
Yeah, I wasn't very much of a fan of hers. But at the same time, I was like, yeah, it's interesting enough, I guess.
Yeah.
We got a three-way between two fake humans.
Yeah.
And an AI, I guess.
I don't
understand this. Whatever.
I don't know. I don't really understand. I still don't really understand replicants. I don't get it. So they have sex? Like, do they want to have sex? I guess they want to have sex.
Well, I think a lot of them are clearly prostitutes.
Yeah. So, there's that. They definitely, that's like a function, but it's like, if you made a replicant and he's supposed to be a Blade Runner, should he want to fuck stuff? I don't know. Like, is that, I don't know. I don't understand like the thought process that goes into making these things.
Yeah. I don't. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know, man.
But you have to know that there are replicants out there that are just like sex toys.
Yeah, totally.
And that, what?
Like
this one's a Blade Runner? Why is that necessary?
I know. Why?
Why
are they called Blade Runners? Do you know why?
No, it doesn't make any fucking sense.
I don't. You always wonder that. Like on what blades are they running? Watch this whole movie. Don't see any blades. Don't see any blade running.
I don't get it, and maybe it makes more sense in. It almost certainly makes more sense in Philip Dick's.
I'm sure it does. I'm sure it does.
If I had really cared, I'd have watched that, or read that. But like, oh man.
Yeah. I don't get it. I would love for somebody to explain it to me, though. I would love for somebody to explain to me why, like, this is such an interesting. Why both of these movies? Why are they both so brilliant and so interesting and explore such interesting, like, what? I just don't see it.
Well, I'd be in the 2.5 or 3 star range for the original Blade Runner because I don't mind it, and there are things that I definitely like about it, and it doesn't fall apart in such a pathetic way. Like, I mean, it's just like when I saw that this was produced by Sony, I was like, oh no. And then I was like, because it, Sony did the Amazing Spider-Man series that was god awful.
Yeah.
And Sony did I don't understand how they can't hire writers.
I don't know.
They did the Ghostbusters reboot that everyone loves.
Yeah.
They're just trying to get that thing that they can milk 2 or 3 good films out of. And like, that was my first thought.
Yeah.
And then of course there's a couple of pretty obvious product placements.
Yeah.
And then they try to make you think maybe it wasn't a product placement because we threw in Atari too, and that's not really a company anymore.
That was cool. I liked that.
I did like that. But then you get to that scene and it's like, we're going to make more movies. You guys, are you ready? Do you want more movies about robots? They're not really robots. They're, I don't know. Fuck. Who cares?
Yeah.
Who cares?
Yeah.
It's not going to happen because this movie is not going to make its money back.
No, probably not. But yeah. Oh well.
I think this is another case where the critics have failed us though, because this is sitting at an 88 or something certified fresh on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah.
And this movie is not good.
It's not a good movie. It's not. It's definitely not. But I just that's what I'm seeing everywhere. It's not just the critics, which I mean, they've got to say what the fuck. I actually tend to trust their opinion more than the fucking goddamn randos on the internet, like people calling themselves the Wednesday Night Gentlemen. What the fuck do they know?
They know lots. But I've talked to those people, and they are really good at their job.
But yeah, I don't know. Honestly, to me, it just seems like it has a lot of really positive buzz. I guess I don't know if it's just coming from people who really like the first Blade Runner movie, which makes sense to me. But yeah,
this movie
I don't know.
Sucks.
I just don't see it. I don't see it either. I'm not gonna fucking defend the movie. Cause yeah, I don't give a shit. God damn it. So stupid action movie stuff. That fucking scene in the water when their car gets shot down or whatever. And then it's just this between Ryan Gosling and the badass replicant girl.
It went on forever.
For fucking ever. That was just brutal how long that took to, I'm going to put you in the water. No, I'm going to put you in the water. Jesus Christ.
I was like, seriously, is our protagonist going to choke out this lady? And it's like, that is absolutely going to happen. Nope, he's going to drown her instead. Way better.
Yeah,
Let's have like a 30-second shot of her just floating in the water now before he tries to rescue Harrison Ford so that they can go to the other place and he can die.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, like I'm just sticking around on the internet right now, but even Blade Runner 2049, there's an article from Wired that just asks, are audiences too lazy to appreciate Blade Runner 2049?
No.
I don't think so either. I don't think so either. Because the problem with the movie is not that it's slow. The problem with the movie is that it's fucking boring because there are no people in it.
Well, it's like, I appreciate like a certain amount of slowness, but like,
yeah,
name all of the humans that have lines in this.
Yeah,
because I mean, Robin Wright, human.
I liked Robin Wright. Little of her there. I mean, again, not much of a character there, but
we don't. But and also the first time I saw her, I thought immediately she is gonna die, and it's gonna be dumb.
Yeah,
and
it was
truth. Yeah,
yeah,
and fuck, like this is another thing that like just bothers me. It's like if you walk into a modern police station, there are cameras everywhere.
Yeah.
And now you're telling me that this person has successfully managed to kill, I guess, a coroner.
Yep.
And also
madam
police captain of some sort. Or higher. Who knows?
Angel, in the future, there are no cameras.
Yeah.
They got rid of the cameras.
No, they just put attack drones in cars and got rid of the cameras.
It makes a lot of sense.
I think Jared Leto is a real person, but he doesn't act like one.
No. He's
I don't know about the guy who wants to buy the wooden horse because it's made out of wood and
shit.
Yeah.
Seemed like a person. I'm like you can understand. Oh, it's it's wood. It's rare, and he wants that because it's rare. I'm like, okay.
There's a woman who yells at him in a hallway.
That's true.
Who probably doesn't have a name. Edward James Olmos is a human.
Yeah.
And I think that may be the end of our list.
Yeah, that's probably about it.
They probably account for 3% of the screen time.
Yeah.
Maybe 5%.
Yeah.
And everyone else is a wet towel.
Yeah.
Delivering lines.
Yeah.
Say the words. That's good enough.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, other than Batista, who was great.
I don't know. I will say this. Like, there's a part of me that was a little bit into the Ryan got the like whether he's the baby. I was like slightly into that, even though I felt like it was a little just obvious for the plot. But like, there was part of me that was a little bit into that, and I did essentially enjoy the scene between him and the girl, the scientist girl who implants the daughter, who implants all the fucking memories in replicants. Like, I kind of liked that scene, and when she told him like, this is definitely a legit memory, this is something that somebody actually experienced, and his like sort of mini explosion of the reaction to that news, I enjoyed that, and I enjoyed his digital girlfriends, I've always told you that you're special, that kind of stuff, where it's like that scene was kind of interesting, where it's like, well, you've always told him he's special because you're fucking programmed to do that because you're a product and that's what you're supposed to do. But then there's that other side that's like, well, maybe it's true and maybe there is something that's kind of genuine there and it might actually be the case. Like, all of that I actually kind of enjoyed. But all of that is totally fucking knocked out by the end of this movie. It's just, it's almost rendered entirely irrelevant when you get to the final reveal that she's in fact the daughter, that I guess that she knew this the entire time. It just, I don't know, it takes all the wind out of the sails of this particular journey. It just seems kind of like, it's just a stupid ending. I don't like the end of this movie at all.
This movie is stupid.
And it takes like 3 hours to get there. It takes 3 hours for this stuff, which isn't it's not that interest. Like it's kind of interesting, but when you don't have people that are worth caring about experiencing these things, then it's just not worthwhile. Like I feel like we can talk about like these similar concepts are explored very well in shows like Battlestar Galactica. And I would say the main difference between BSG and Blade Runner 2049 is that BSG has people you fucking care about in it. Mm-hmm. More than one. Like a lot more than one. Like people who are immediately interesting and immediately engaging, and they have interesting relationships with one another that are full of like genuine conflict. They're just immediately empathetic, and this movie doesn't have fucking any of that. It's like it has some of the same concepts but doesn't have any of the life that, I don't know, makes those concepts fucking relevant, I guess.
Yeah, and I think that's probably why when I explain, like, I started pretty into this movie and lost interest pretty progressively throughout the movie until it cratered. Yeah. I think that's exactly what it is, because you see the potential there, and you realize it's just not going to happen.
No. This sounds like another episode of the Wednesday Night Haters, as christened by one of our listeners.
Whatever.
I don't want to dislike Blade Runner and Blade Runner 2049. Honestly, I wish that I liked both of those movies a lot. I wish that I was into it, because I like you, I love the fucking cyberpunk genre. There's not enough of it. And so any entry I really want to like. But god damn it. I need there to be something resembling a person in them in order to.
I do think that you gave this a lower score than you gave Ghost in the Shell, but I think we agree that Ghost in the Shell is a much more palatable movie.
Yeah, I like Ghost in the Shell better. And it's because I actually do like the characters in that movie a little bit better. And it's not fucking 3 hours long. It's not.
It does help.
God.
And it doesn't like skirt around this. Like, one of the things you can legitimately complain about is that there's really not that much investigating, not that much police work in the original Blade Runner.
Yeah.
In this one, they do try to do it, but it's just like, I just don't care.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm just not. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not into it. I don't really think there's anyone to latch onto. So, yeah. And I like Ryan Gosling. But
I don't have much feelings about him. I would imagine that my opinion of Ryan Gosling is similar to Ryan Gosling's character having an opinion of me. Which is,
Yeah.
Anything else you want to add for Blade Runner 2099?
No,
2049, 2099 is different.
I think we should invite anybody who has actually listened to this episode who is pissed off at our terrible review of it. If you can convince me why this movie is good, please do so in the comments. I'm happy to read anybody's fucking argument for why this movie is not just kind of a 3-hour slumber.
I got really tired in the middle of it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll look forward to reading that comment. This has otherwise been episode number 35 of the Wednesday Night Gentlemen Multimedia Empire official podcast. Please be sure to give us a like if you've enjoyed our negativity. Subscribe to our channel. Also, you can find us on Twitter at WNG_MME_OPC, or head on over to Facebook where we are simply the Wednesday Night Gentlemen. Thank you, everyone, for listening, and we will see you again on episode number 36 of this aforementioned podcast.